Ethan, I swear if you come any closer, I will scream. She stood on top of the wooden bench, eyes wide with horror as Ethan grinned mischievously, holding a tiny green frog in his outstretched hands. Come on, Mia. It's just a frog. He's cute, Ethan teased, stepping closer. The poor creature wriggled in his grasp, but Ethan was too focused on Mia's reaction to notice. Mia, however, was having none of it. Cute. That thing is slimy and disgusting. Ethan tilted his head. So is your little brother, but you don't run away from him. Ethan, she shrieked, gripping the top of his head like a lifeline. That was the moment his grip on the frog faltered. The tiny green troublemaker leaped out of his hands, right onto Mia's arm. What followed was absolute chaos. Mia screamed loud enough to wake the entire neighborhood. She flailed so hard that she knocked Ethan over, sending both of them tumbling into the mud. The frog, meanwhile, hopped away, completely unfazed by the disaster it had caused. Covered in dirt, Ethan groaned. Well, that went well. Mia, panting, glared at him before smacking his shoulder. You are the worst best friend ever. Ethan only grinned, his heart swelling as he watched her try to brush the mud off her dress. Even then, at 8 years old, he knew she was the only person he wanted in his life forever. Years later, sitting across from Mia at their usual cafe, Ethan tried to keep his expression neutral. She was rambling excitedly, completely unaware of the storm inside him. I wanted to tell you first, Ethan. I'm dating someone. His heart clenched. His fingers curled around his coffee cup. Ryan, she continued, her voice carrying that soft, dreamy tone that made his chest ache. We met at that charity event last month. He's sweet, funny, and honestly, I think he might be the one. The one? The words echoed in Ethan's mind, louder than the chatter around them, louder than his own heartbeat. For years, he had been her shoulder to cry on, her partner in crime, the one who always had her back. But he had never been the one. He swallowed hard, forcing out a chuckle. Ryan, huh? So, what's he got that I don't? Mia laughed. Well, for one, he doesn't throw frogs at me. Ethan smirked, masking the pain behind humor. That was one time. You traumatized me, she shot back, rolling her eyes. But Ethan wasn't laughing anymore. His grip on his cup tightened. This was his chance. Maybe his last one. Mia? His voice was quieter now, more serious. She blinked, sensing the shift in his tone. I need to tell you something, he continued, his heart pounding. And I need you to really listen. She set her drink down. Okay. He took a deep breath. No more hiding. No more waiting. I've been in love with you for as long as I can remember. Her eyes widened. Silence stretched between them, heavy and unspoken. Ethan had spent years making her laugh, teasing her, standing by her side. But right now, none of that mattered. Because if she didn't feel the same, he was about to lose his best friend forever. For a moment, Mia didn't say anything. Her lips parted slightly, eyes searching his face, as if she had misheard him. As if Ethan had just spoken in a language she didn't understand. He held his breath, waiting. Then she let out a nervous laugh. Ethan, don't joke like that. His stomach sank. I'm not joking. The laughter died on her lips. The air between them suddenly felt suffocating, the familiar warmth of their friendship replaced with an unspoken weight pressing down on them. You, Mia swallowed. You love me? Ethan let out a shaky breath and nodded. Yeah, I do. She blinked rapidly, as if trying to process the words. But why didn't you ever say anything? Because I was scared, he admitted. Scared of ruining what we have. Scared that if I told you, you'd look at me like you're looking at me right now, like I just flipped our entire world upside down. Mia opened her mouth, then closed it, clearly struggling to find the right words. Ethan pushed on. Mia, I've been in love with you since we were kids. Since you threw your ice cream at me for making fun of your pigtails. Since that time you cried over a puppy that wasn't even yours. A small, wistful smile ghosted his lips. I didn't say anything because I thought I had time. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, one day, you'd look at me the way I look at you." Mia's breath hitched. "Ethan, but now you're with Ryan." His voice cracked slightly, but he powered through. "And if he makes you happy, I swear I won't stand in the way. But I couldn't let you go without you knowing the truth. I couldn't keep pretending that watching you fall for someone else doesn't tear me apart." Silence. Mia stared at him, and for the first time in their entire friendship, Ethan had no idea what she was thinking. Seconds stretched into an eternity. Then, she exhaled shakily. I don't know what to say." Ethan nodded, forcing a small smile. "That's okay." But it wasn't. Because deep down, he had hoped, just a little, that she would say she felt the same. Mia lowered her gaze, her fingers playing with the rim of her cup. "I never thought about us like that before," she admitted softly. "You've always been my best friend. The person I trust the most. And now, I don't want to lose you." His chest ached. "You're not going to lose me. But this changes everything." "Yeah," he murmured, looking away. "I guess it does." Another beat of silence passed before Mia whispered, "I need time." Ethan nodded slowly, the lump in his throat making it hard to speak. "Take all the time you need." But deep down, he couldn't help but wonder, was time enough to change the way she saw him? Or had he already lost her? The air between them was thick with unspoken words. Ethan had laid everything bare, and Mia had asked for time. But in the days that followed, nothing felt the same. Mia tried to go about her usual routine, coffee in the morning, work during the day, text with Ethan like always, but now, every word felt weighted. Every glance felt different. She wanted things to go back to normal. But how could they? And why did she feel like something inside her was shifting? Ethan told himself he wouldn't wait. He wasn't going to be that guy, the one who pined hopelessly while she figured things out. He had put his feelings out there, and if Mia didn't return them, then that was it. That's what he told himself. And yet, every time his phone buzzed, his heart still jumped a little, hoping it was her. Every time he passed by their usual hangout spots, he half expected to see her waiting for him with a smile. And when he saw her with Ryan, laughing, looking happy, well, that was when he knew. Moving on wasn't going to be that simple. "Okay, dude, this is pathetic," Ben said one night as they sat at the bar. "You're basically watching your own heartbreak in slow motion. Either do something or actually move on." Ethan groaned, rubbing his hands down his face. "Yeah, and how exactly am I supposed to do that?" Ben smirked. "Date someone else." Ethan gave him a blank look. "That's your advice?" "Hey, best way to get over someone is to get under." "Nope." Ethan cut him off, not finishing that sentence. Ben just laughed. "All right, fine. But seriously, Ethan, you need to stop waiting around for Mia. She made her choice." Had she, though? Because lately she had been acting strange. It started small. She'd be with Ryan, and he'd do something sweet. Buy her flowers, send her cute texts, kiss her cheek, and for some reason, her first thought wasn't awe. It was Ethan never needed to do these things to make me happy. Then there were the conversations. Ryan was fun, charming, exciting. But sometimes, she'd tell him something, and he just wouldn't get it. Like the time she brought up an old inside joke, and Ryan just blinked at her while Ethan, who was sitting across the room at a party, choked on his drink because he got it instantly. Or the time she had a rough day and Ryan said, "That sucks. You'll be fine." While Ethan, he would have known exactly what to say. Little things. But little things built up. And then came the moment that shook everything. Mia and Ethan hadn't been alone together since his confession. Not really. But one evening, after a group hangout, they ended up walking home together like they always used to. The tension was thick, but they fell into step naturally. For a moment, it was like old times. And then, as they reached her building, she turned to say goodbye. And froze. Because Ethan was looking at her. Not just looking, but looking. Like she was the only thing in his world. Like he had been holding back everything for weeks. Her heart slammed against her ribs. And then, God help her, she leaned in. Not much. Just enough. Just to see if he would. Ethan inhaled sharply, his hand twitching at his side. His gaze flickered to her lips for the briefest second. And then he stepped back. "Mia," he said hoarsely. Don't. Her breath caught. Ethan, You're with Ryan. The words felt like a slap. Because he was right. And yet,
she didn't want to walk away.
She didn't want him to step back. But he had. And now, all she could do was watch as he shoved his hands into his pockets, gave her one last unreadable look, and walked away. And for the first time, she felt like she was the one losing him. The next few days were hell. She tried to pretend nothing had happened. Tried to focus on Ryan, on work, on anything but the fact that her best friend, the person who had always been there, was slipping away. It wasn't until she was out with Ryan one evening, sitting at a candlelit restaurant, that everything truly crashed down. Ryan was talking about something, his job, his plans for the weekend. She wasn't sure when he suddenly said, "Are you even listening to me?" Mia blinked, realizing she had been completely zoned out. Yeah, sorry, I was just thinking. Ryan sighed, looking annoyed. Lately, it feels like your mind is somewhere else. Or with someone else. Her stomach twisted. Because he wasn't wrong. Ryan sighed again, leaning back. Look, Mia, I really like you. But I don't think I should have to compete with another guy for your attention. Her breath caught. Ryan, It's Ethan, isn't it? Silence. Mia opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. And then, in the quietest voice, she whispered, I don't know. But she did. Because when she thought about the person who understood her best, it was Ethan. When she thought about the person who made her laugh the hardest, it was Ethan. And when she thought about the person she couldn't imagine her life without, it had always been Ethan. Ryan exhaled sharply, shaking his head. I think you just got your answer. And with that, it was over.
She didn't hesitate. She ran.
Through the streets, past familiar corners, heart pounding as she reached Ethan's door and knocked frantically. When he opened it, he looked shocked, eyes widening.
Mia?
What? She didn't let him finish. You were right, she blurted out, chest heaving. It was always you, Ethan. Always. I was just too blind to see it. Ethan's expression flickered. Hope, hesitation, something else. Mia? She grabbed his hands, gripping them tightly. Don't step back this time. His breath hitched. Are you sure? She smiled, soft, a little teary. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And this time when she leaned in,
he didn't step away.
The first kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate or fevered. It was soft. A slow realization of everything that had been bubbling under the surface for years. The moment their lips touched, Mia felt something deep in her chest settle, like she had been running in circles and finally found her way home. Ethan kissed her like he needed to, like he was memorizing the feel of her, the taste of her, the reality of what he had always dreamed about. And when they finally pulled apart, breathless, foreheads resting against each other, she whispered, We should have done that years ago. Ethan chuckled, his hands still cradling her face.
Yeah.
We really should have. The next few weeks were weird. Good weird. But still weird. For years, their dynamic had been set, best friends, partners in crime, platonic.
But now?
Now, Ethan reached for her hand without thinking. Now, Mia kissed his cheek just because. Now, they had sleepovers that didn't involve popcorn and dumb movies, but rather whispered conversations in the dark and waking up tangled in each other's arms. But some things stayed the same. They still argued over the last slice of pizza. They still made fun of each other mercilessly. They still knew exactly what the other needed without saying a word. It was perfect. Almost too perfect. Which meant, of course, that something had to go wrong. The trouble started when they went public. It wasn't like they'd planned a grand announcement or anything. But the moment Mia casually leaned into Ethan's side at a party, his arm draping over her shoulder like second nature, people noticed. Ben nearly spat out his drink.
Wait.
What the hell? Are you guys, together? Mia smirked.
No, Ben.
We just like standing unreasonably close to each other for no reason. Ethan snorted, tugging her even closer. Yeah, we're together. Took her long enough to realize I'm irresistible. Ben's gaze flickered between them before he groaned. Oh my God. I lost the bet. Mia blinked. What bet? Half of our friend group had a bet on when you two would finally get together, Ben admitted. I said never. Clearly, I underestimated Ethan's dumb loyalty. Ethan rolled his eyes. You're just mad you were wrong. Ben pointed a finger at him. You better not screw this up, man. We've been stuck watching your pathetic, lovesick ass for years. If you break up, I'm taking Mia's side. Mia grinned. Good to know. Ethan just groaned, dropping his head against her shoulder. But while their friends took the news well, there was one person who didn't. Ryan. Mia wasn't expecting to run into Ryan again so soon. But one afternoon, as she was leaving a cafe, she spotted him standing near his car, looking at her with a guarded expression. She hesitated. Ryan. So it's true, he cut in. You and Ethan. Mia sighed.
Yeah.
It's true. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. Guess I was just the placeholder, huh? Her stomach twisted. Ryan, it wasn't like that. Wasn't it? His jaw clenched. I should have seen it coming. You were always his, Mia. Even when you didn't realize it. She looked away. I never meant to hurt you. Yeah, well. Ryan exhaled sharply. You did. She didn't know what to say to that. Because he wasn't wrong. She had hurt him. And there was nothing she could do to change that. Ryan gave her one last look before shaking his head. I hope he's worth it. And with that, he walked away. For the first time since choosing Ethan, doubt slithered into Mia's chest. Not about them. Never about them. But about the people they had hurt in the process. That night, Mia was quieter than usual. Ethan noticed immediately. What's wrong? She hesitated before finally saying, I saw Ryan today. Ethan tensed. Oh, he's hurt, Ethan. She sighed. And I hate that I did that to him. Ethan was silent for a moment before he gently took her hands. You didn't do anything wrong, Mia. She looked up at him. Didn't I?
No.
His voice was firm. You followed your heart. And yeah, it sucks that he got hurt, but that's not on you. You can't control how people feel. You can only be honest with yourself. Mia swallowed. I don't want us to be something that causes pain. Ethan cupped her cheek, his thumb brushing gently over her skin. Mia, loving you could never be a mistake. Her breath hitched. And just like that, the doubt melted away. Because Ethan was right. This wasn't wrong.
It was them.
And she wasn't going to let anything ruin that. Things between Mia and Ethan settled into a comfortable rhythm. For the first time, they weren't just best friends, they were something more. And it was good. Better than good, actually. It was movie nights turned into lazy morning cuddles. It was secret kisses when no one was looking. It was late-night talks that turned into stay-over without hesitation. It was everything they had always been, just with more hand-holding, more kisses, and the undeniable knowledge that they belonged to each other. But, of course, nothing stays perfect forever. And the first real test of their relationship came in the form of her. Mia wasn't the jealous type. Or at least she had never thought she was. But when she saw the gorgeous brunette leaning against Ethan's car, casually twirling her keys around her finger, something in her stomach twisted. Who's that? She asked Ben, who was standing beside her. Ben groaned. Oh, great. It's Danielle. Mia blinked. Danielle? Ben shot her a look. Ethan's ex. Her stomach dropped. She had heard about Danielle before, mostly in passing. Ethan didn't talk about her much, just enough to say that it had ended and he had moved on. But now, seeing her standing there, looking entirely too comfortable, Mia felt something she hadn't expected. A sharp, ugly pang of territorial instinct. And then Ethan stepped out of the building, spotted Danielle, and hesitated. It was the hesitation that made Mia's chest tighten. Danielle? Ethan's voice was surprised. What are you doing here? Danielle smiled, too sweetly. What? I can't say hi to an old friend? Mia barely contained her scoff. Friend?
Yeah, right.
Ethan sighed. Danielle. Relax, I'm not here to start anything, she said, tilting her head. I just heard you and Mia are together now. Mia stiffened at the way Danielle said her name, like it was something foreign on her tongue. Ethan crossed his arms. Yeah, I am. Danielle's smile faltered just a little.
Wow.
So it finally happened, huh? She turned her gaze toward Mia, looking her over. I always knew you had a thing for him. Mia forced a polite smile. Took me a while, but yeah. Lucky me. Danielle hummed. You sure you can handle it, though? Mia's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? Ethan's a lot to deal with, Danielle continued, casually brushing her hair back. I should know. We were together for years. Just saying the best friends to lovers thing? It doesn't always work out. Mia felt her nails dig into her palm. She could be the bigger person here. She could just brush it off and walk away. But the thing about Mia? She never let anyone walk over her. So instead, she stepped closer, meeting Danielle's gaze head-on. Thanks for your concern, she said sweetly. But I think I know Ethan better than anyone. And trust me this? We work, asterisk. Danielle's eyes flashed, just for a second, before she shrugged. If you say so. And with that, she turned back to Ethan, giving him one last look. I'll see you around. Mia watched as Danielle walked away, feeling the tension still thick in the air. She turned to Ethan. You okay? Ethan let out a breath, shaking his head.
Yeah.
That was just unexpected. Mia studied him for a second. Are you still hung up on her? Ethan's eyes snapped to hers, sharp and serious.
What? No. God, no, Mia.
That ended a long time ago. She hesitated. Then why did you look so? I don't know. Uncomfortable? Asterisk. Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Because I know Danielle. She doesn't just show up for no reason. Mia frowned. You think she's up to something? I think she's trying to mess with you, Ethan admitted. And I don't like it. Mia smirked. Well, if she wants a fight, she picked the wrong girl. Ethan chuckled, wrapping an arm around her waist. That's my girl. Mia thought that was the end of it. She should have known better. Because 2 days later, she found out that Danielle had invited Ethan to catch up. Alone. And Ethan, being Ethan, hadn't said no immediately. Mia found out through Ben, who casually mentioned it over lunch like it was nothing. Except it wasn't nothing. Not to her. So that's how she ended up storming into Ethan's apartment that evening, arms crossed. Are you seriously meeting up with your ex? Ethan, who had just taken a bite of pizza, blinked at her.
Mia?
What? He swallowed. How did you?
Ben told me, she snapped.
Why didn't you tell me? Ethan groaned. Because it's not a big deal. Not a big, Ethan, asterisk, she threw her hands up. Your ex, who clearly still has feelings for you, invites you out and you don't think that's worth mentioning? I was going to tell you, he defended. I just didn't think it mattered. Mia stared at him. It matters to me. Ethan exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Mia, I don't care about Danielle. I don't want her back. But if I ignore her completely, she's just going to keep pushing. I figured if I went, I could make it clear once and for all. Mia narrowed her eyes. And you really think that's all she wants? To catch up? Asterisk. Ethan sighed. Probably not. But I know where my heart is, Mia. I'm with you. Nothing she says or does changes that. Mia bit her lip, staring at him. He looked earnest.
Honest.
And damn it, she trusted him. But that didn't mean she trusted Danielle. So she stepped closer, placing her hands on his chest. Fine, she said slowly. You can meet her. But under one condition. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Which is? Mia smirked. I'm coming with you. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. You're something else, you know that? And you love it. Yeah, he murmured, pressing a kiss to her forehead. I really do. Mia didn't trust Danielle. Not even a little. And the fact that Ethan, her Ethan, was still willing to meet his conniving ex for some so-called closure didn't sit right with her. So when Ethan texted Danielle back, agreeing to meet, he also added something that made Mia very satisfied. Ethan, sure, let's catch up. But Mia's coming too. And just like that, Danielle's plan took its first hit. Danielle had picked a fancy restaurant. Not a cafe. Not a casual spot. A high-end, candlelit restaurant, the type meant for dates. Mia had expected nothing less. But if Danielle thought she could intimidate her with expensive wine glasses and dim lighting, she had another thing coming. Mia walked in confidently, holding Ethan's hand, wearing the prettiest dress she owned. Just to make a point, Danielle was already at the table when they arrived, stirring her drink with a smirk. But when she saw Mia walk in beside Ethan, her expression flickered. Just for a second. Then, she pasted on a smile. "Mia, you actually came." Mia smiled sweetly. "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" Ethan, oblivious to the subtle tension between them, pulled out a chair for Mia before sitting beside her. "So, what's up, Danielle? You said you wanted to catch up." Danielle took a sip of her drink, her eyes lingering on Ethan.
Right.
"I just wanted to see how you were doing. We didn't really end on the best terms, did we?" Mia clenched her jaw. "Oh, we're going there, huh?" Ethan sighed. "We broke up, Danielle. That's how it works." Danielle tilted her head. "Still, we had something real, didn't we? We were good together." Mia nearly choked. "Is she serious right now?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "No, we weren't." Danielle blinked, clearly not expecting that. "Excuse me, Danielle," Ethan said, leaning forward. "We broke up for a reason. We weren't good for each other. And, honestly, I should have seen it sooner." Mia tried very hard not to look smug. Danielle, however, didn't give up so easily. "Well," she said, crossing her legs, "I can't say I wasn't surprised when I heard you moved on so quickly." Mia stiffened. Ethan frowned. "It wasn't quick. It was natural." "Was it?" Danielle's gaze flickered to Mia. Or was she always there waiting? Mia could see what Danielle was trying to do. Plant doubt, make her question things. Too bad for her, Mia already knew the answer. So instead of taking the bait, she reached for Ethan's hand, intertwining their fingers. "I wasn't waiting," she said calmly. "I was just the one who truly loved him all along." Danielle's smile dropped. Ethan squeezed Mia's hand. "And I was too blind to see it. But I see it now. And I wouldn't change a thing." That was the final blow. Danielle set down her glass a little too hard, then forced a laugh.
"Well,
"I guess that settles it, huh?" Ethan nodded.
yeah."
"It does." Danielle exhaled, looking at him one last time. "I hope you don't regret it someday, Ethan." Mia grinned. "Oh, he won't." Danielle shot her a glare before standing up. "It was nice seeing you, Ethan." "You too," he said easily, like she wasn't even a second thought. And then Danielle left. Mia watched her go, feeling very satisfied.
"Well,
that was fun." Ethan groaned. "Fun is not the word I'd use." Mia turned to him, smirking. "You really told her we weren't good together?" Ethan laughed, leaning in. "Because we weren't. You're my best choice." Mia felt her heart swell. Good answer. And then she kissed him, right there in the middle of the restaurant, because this was where she belonged. With him. Danielle was gone. For good this time. And with that chapter finally closed, Mia and Ethan could move forward, without any lingering shadows from the past. Or so they thought. Because just when everything seemed perfect, life threw one last curveball. It started with something small. A forgotten text. A missed call. A late-night work meeting that ran over. Mia wasn't the clingy type. She didn't need Ethan to check in constantly. But when days turned into weeks of feeling like she was always the one waiting for him to make time, the frustration built. And one evening, when Ethan canceled their dinner plans again, Mia finally snapped. "Are you even trying anymore?" she demanded, crossing her arms as she stood in his apartment. Ethan, clearly exhausted, ran a hand through his hair. "Mia, come on, you know it's not like that. Work's just been." "No," she cut him off. "I get that you're busy. But do you even want to spend time with me anymore? Because it sure as hell doesn't feel like it." Ethan groaned. "Mia, you know I love you. It's just things are hectic right now." "They're always hectic," she shot back. "But I'm always here, waiting. And I don't think you even notice." That made Ethan pause. For the first time, he really looked at her, at the hurt in her eyes, at the way her fingers clenched like she was trying to hold herself together. Mia, his voice softened. I notice. I just... Forget it, she muttered, shaking her head. I can't be the only one holding this together, Ethan. And with that, she walked out. Ethan let her go. And for the first time since they had gotten together, it felt like maybe love wasn't enough. The silence between them lasted for days. Ethan thought she just needed space, that she'd cool down, and everything would go back to normal. But then he saw her one evening, out with Ben and some friends, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world, like she wasn't missing him at all. And that's when it hit him. He had been taking her for granted. Mia had always been there, waiting, understanding, loving him even when he was too caught up in everything else. But she wasn't going to wait forever. And if he didn't fix this now, he'd lose her. Ethan had never been the over-the-top romantic type. But for Mia, he'd make an exception. So he did something crazy. He showed up outside her apartment in the middle of the night, blasting their favorite song from his car speakers like some kind of cheesy rom-com moment. Mia opened her window, groggy and definitely annoyed. What the hell, Ethan? It's midnight. I love you, he shouted up at her. She sighed. Yeah, I know. Now go home before the neighbors call the cops. Mia, he said more seriously, I'm sorry. You were right. I haven't been putting in the effort you deserve. And I hate that I made you feel like I wasn't choosing you because I do. Every day. And I always will. Mia's irritation wavered. Ethan, just come down here, he pleaded. Let me fix this. She hesitated. Then, with a sigh, she disappeared from the window. A minute later, the front door opened, and there she was, barefoot, in an oversized sweater, arms crossed but eyes softer than before. You really woke up the whole street for this? She muttered. Ethan grinned. Had to make sure you heard me. Mia sighed. You're an idiot. Yeah, but I'm your idiot. She rolled her eyes, but finally smiled. You really mean it? You're gonna try harder? I swear. He stepped closer, brushing his fingers against hers. Just don't give up on me yet, okay? Mia exhaled, then intertwined their fingers. You're lucky I love you. Yeah, Ethan murmured, pulling her close. I really, really am. And then he kissed her, slow and deep and right. Because this wasn't just a moment. It was a promise. A promise that they were forever.